Moving on to the pass catchers, we obviously have the wide receiver 6 from last year, CeeDee Lamb. He's going 13th overall, wide receiver 7 in the league here. He's going just after A.J. Brown and just before Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. This guy last year, 1,359 yards, 9 touchdowns. He is the number one guy there. He is arguably one of the top 2 receivers in this whole division, period. Could argue that he's the best receiver in this division, even though finish-wise he did have A.J. Brown above him last year. Going alongside CeeDee Lamb, there's not a ton to say about him. He's one of those guys that you can take on that 1-2 turn if you really like him better than some. If you like him better than Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown, take him. If you like him better than Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, take him. Like, he's going to get the volume that those guys have.
Well, let me ask you that. So in those 5 guys that you just named, right? We go Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, and Garrett Wilson. How do you rank them? Or where do you see CeeDee? Where do you value CeeDee in that?
So to me, I think Stephon Diggs is a sleeper. I think that's a guy that could finish as like the wide receiver 3 this year. I mean, he was on pace for it last year before the injury to Josh Allen's elbow. We talked about that. I think A.J. Brown is somebody that's going to finish outside the top 5 this year. He finished at 4 last year. He needs the touchdowns. He had 11 last year. I don't know if he's going to have 11 touchdowns this year. I could see that possibly changing. So that being said, I could see CeeDee Lamb. I have him finishing. It's hard for me to put Devontae Adams behind him because Devontae Adams is just so good. And that guy has a knack for the end zone. I'd probably put him at 6 there. I'd probably put Devontae Adams right above him, A.J. Brown right behind him. And then I have Garrett Wilson up there too, right neck and neck with A.J. Brown.
Okay. So you put him in the middle of that pack right there.
Yeah, because he can finish on either side of them, I think. So I'm happy taking him in the middle of that pack. Like, to me, his ceiling, he had 1,359 and 9 touchdowns. I think his ceiling could be another 1,300 yards, but I could see him breaking into the double-digit touchdowns, and that would have bumped him up closer to those A.J. Brown numbers. Because let's not forget, A.J. Brown himself last year had 1,496 in yardage and 11 touchdowns. So he pretty much had a whole 100 yards more.
So we've talked at a fair amount of length into the defenses that the Cowboys are going to be facing, right? In all those defenses, they all have a man corner. And this is what concerns me about CeeDee Lamb. And this is my maybe pump the brakes on CeeDee Lamb this year is, so his target separation versus man, he was 55th amongst wide receivers. His fantasy points per target against man was 33rd. He's going to be facing Sauce Gardner. He's going to be facing Xavier Howard. He's going to be facing all the top corners from these teams. And we just listed off all these defenses that they're going to face. And yeah, like the strength of those defenses is going to be like the defensive line. But all those defenses have really good corners. And they're going to lock him up. And if teams know that he's not good against man and he's better against zone, well, guess what they're going to run? Yeah. So, this is my pump the brakes on CeeDee Lamb. And this is where I would probably have him at the end of those guys that we listed. I would rank any of those guys probably above him. And he's probably, I think people are going to go and take, like, he's valuable because of the volume that's going to go there.
That's why I like.